You're listening to Inklings of Insight. I love the middle piece, and it kind of goes along with what you're saying in terms of having to consistently do it. But I love the middle piece, the logging portion, because it reminds me of a lot of what we talked about in the last conversation, where we were talking about naming the elephant. And I've mentioned before how I find it so fascinating that a lot of times Dr. Claude points out how the leaders have blind spots and how they don't see what's going on. So that kind of points to the observing piece, but it also, I think, points to the logging piece, because I think it's so important. I don't know if you've ever, as a leader or as a father, ever had to have the same conversation with someone multiple times about the same issue.
My son.
To me, it's so important to log, because it's like blind spots can be so discouraging, so detrimental, so dangerous. I think it's so important for you to, as clearly as possible, put it up in front of people so that it kind of becomes a part of their internal rhythm, like you were saying, to be able to constantly remind themselves, this is an issue that I struggle with. This is, to me, it's like naming the elephant, because we talked about it in the last conversation. Naming the elephant to me is so important, because you can't fix anything if you aren't clear on what the problem is, right?
Yeah.
And some people, I don't know if you've ever talked to people who are just masters at deflection and, shifting, from what the problem really is to trying to talk about another issue. And it's like, no, that's not what this is. This is what we've talked about before. This is X, Y, Z. This is not the first time we've talked about it. It's X, Y, Z. And it's so powerful. I don't know if you've been in those conversations when you've been able to clearly pull up. A lot of times we don't take, in board meetings and, formal meetings, a lot of times we have minutes. But in a lot of our more, informal, more casual, less regimented conversations, we don't really have minutes, where it's easy for us to grab a snapshot and throw up a conversation, what happened, what the resolution was, what we identified as a problem, and the plan that we took to go about addressing it. That's just so powerful, right? When you can just say, hey, we've been here, we've done this, right? This is what it is.
I've heard people point blank, I find that a lot of at work, people have what they call their CYA. They know that I spoke to this person, I requested this on such a date, and they turn around within 48 hours. But this person agreed to the fact that they're going to deliver this item 48 hours later. But then they are hoping that some of your emails are not so organized that you don't remember. So when stuff blows up, I've seen some people that have put. I'm not in the habit of doing that, because I always feel like, it's I told you so kind of thing.
Right.
And I never want to lie. I don't like saying I told you so. But if I have to, I might have to do so. But then they pull out that information. Then you're like, oh, okay, I guess I made a mistake. So yeah, there are people like that.
Right.
They'll flat out deny that they said something, and then you're like, okay, this is uncomfortable, and then you draw back. And many times they do win because they're used to the fact that people are not non-confrontational, until they find somebody who's saving their emails or their communication, if it was formal. That's when they're busted. Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure, and this is partly on me, because I think I might have characterized it for it to sound like a sort of gotcha type of a thing, but I really meant it in a constructive way, for you to be able to say, this is nothing that we can't overcome. We've covered this ground before. Let's use this as like a roadmap, to say, hey.
Okay, I get you. I get what you're saying.
To say, hey, we've identified this problem before, right? This is nothing new. and we can move in a more positive direction because we've identified this before, right?
I agree. I get what you're saying.
You've been listening to Inklings of Insight.